up, everyone? Sam Shah here, founder of Wall Street Mastermind. I'm excited to be back today with another client interview for you guys. And I'm excited to have Erik on with us today. Erik is one of our students who just finished going through, well, I guess it's been a couple months now, right? But just finished
Yep.
going through the summer 2023 recruiting process. He's currently a rising junior, and he ended up getting into a really, well, he got a really good offer. And so I was interested in getting him on here to just talk to you guys about his experience and how he was able to get to where he is today. And he actually kind of has an atypical background for someone that ended up deciding to do banking. And so I'm sure some of you do as well. So wanted to talk to you guys about that, and then just hopefully share some insights with you that will help you on your own journey as well. So with that said, Erik, thank you for taking time to be here with us today. And if you don't mind, just maybe start off by introducing yourself a little bit and letting people know, get a sense for like kind of where your background is and kind of how you got here.
For sure. Yeah. So I'm a sophomore at Dartmouth. So I'm a rising junior now, but I started the Wall Street Mastermind program in November of 2021. So the fall of my sophomore year. So pretty late. And I honestly I was pre-med my first year, and I basically decided to quit pre-med and explore different paths
Mm,
about halfway through my fall semester, which is super late considering that investment banking recruiting starts in like February, March of your sophomore year. So I literally didn't even know what investment banking was up until about November, when Sam slid in my LinkedIn DMs and just started giving me advice. Just
yeah.
like asking if I had any questions about investment banking. And I honestly did. And me and Sam had a great conversation on LinkedIn. And after that, we booked a virtual coffee chat, and I talked to one of his guys. And after that, we kept chatting. And, I think it takes a lot to convince someone to invest into a program that, honestly costs like a lot of money for a college kid.
Yeah.
And I'm not somebody who comes from, a family of means or anything like that. So I was putting a lot of my own skin into this investment.
Mm.
But I'm super happy with how everything worked out. And I am super thankful that I took the leap of faith to invest in my career.
That's amazing. There's a lot for us to dig into there. So I have some follow-up questions for you.
Mhm.
I guess first things first, like probably one of the most interesting things you said is you were pre-med and then you decided to quit pre-med halfway through the fall semester of, I guess, your sophomore year. And
Mhm.
that's like right before when we kind of met. So like what made you decide to quit pre-med after spending like over a year on it? Because I feel like a lot of people would just be like pot committed and it's like, well, I'm just gonna keep doing this even though I don't love it, right? Like what made you want to switch? And then like when you were deciding to switch, obviously you didn't know anything about banking at the time, and maybe part of you discovering banking was, I don't know, me reaching out to you, but like, were there other careers you were considering at the time? And then like, ultimately, why did you decide on banking as like the alternative to going into medicine? Because those are two like completely different things, right?
For sure. Yeah. So I think to answer the first question, I had always wanted to, obviously have like a high paying career. And I also really cared about impact. So I always say that I care about three things in terms of my career: money, passion, and impact. And I really thought that the impact and money was appealing in medicine. However, after taking a few science courses at Dartmouth, I just realized that, I didn't want to spend my entire life like both in a lab and also like in school. And as somebody who doesn't come from a more humble background, like I didn't like the idea of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on graduate school as
Mm,
well. So all those things considered, I decided to stop pre-med. And honestly, it was a leap of faith, but I'm glad I did it earlier on as opposed to, stopping like my junior year, senior year. And I think I definitely knew that I wanted to go into business.
mm,
Um, Reason for that is because I just saw it, I just conceived of it as a career path where I could really maximize my potential just as a professional and as like a competitor as well. I'm a really competitive guy.
mm.
And I just thought it would be super appealing to just work a ton and try to make a lot of money, honestly, and be in this hyper competitive realm. Like I know that like Mark Cuban says that business is like the most competitive sport out of anything in the world. And I think just the idea of that really appealed to me. And also, I know like going to Dartmouth, I know it's a target school. I knew it was a target school for banking and consulting. I did a little bit of research on consulting because I thought it was interesting, and I I knew that like it would be like pretty feasible for me to make the switch into there because I go to Dartmouth, a target school. So, but other than that, like I didn't know anything about banking. I honestly thought that banking, when you reached out to me, was like wealth management. I thought it was like you like investing money and like for like other people.
That's
That's
what
what it,
everyone always thinks, by the way.
yeah. And so it's pretty good, clear to say that I just had no idea what was going on. And when Sam reached out to me, I was like, okay, this is obviously like a good program, but I don't think I really need it because like I go to a target school and like a lot of people here do banking consulting. Like that's probably not necessary. I probably don't have to invest extra money into this when I'm already like investing into a good school.
Mm,
And like banking recruiting's over and like my boys are doing consulting recruiting right now. And I can tell you like just because you go to a target school, like it doesn't mean anything's guaranteed. Like a lot of people with like super like double majors, 3.9 GPAs, who just like are way smarter than I am, didn't really get any offers because they didn't understand the process. And I think what people should know is that it's more about just being on top of things and knowing how the game is played than just being like pure like even like work ethic or pure intelligence. It's more about just like understanding the strategy. So I think that's why Wall Street Mastermind is so valuable.
yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. That's awesome. I mean, look, again, I think like it's always interesting to hear stories like that because I think in many ways you took like an unconventional path, but also I think you made some decisions that maybe not everyone would have made, right?
Mhm.
I always tell people um, like average people will get average results, and like extraordinary people, they do it like they make extraordinary, they get extraordinary results, but it's extraordinary because somewhere along the way they made decisions that maybe other people wouldn't have made otherwise, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's like you could have stuck with like a career path that you weren't just super interested in, you could have stuck with it for way longer. You talked about like not having a lot of money or not coming from like a family with a lot of money and then already going to a really good school and still then ultimately deciding to invest in yourself. And actually, I guess I'm curious because initially it sounded like initially your mindset was I already go to a good school, so I
Mhm.
don't need help. How did you go from that to then even just saying, actually, you know what, I am going to get help. And then to your point, I think you were saying also you pay for a lot of this yourself, right? Or maybe you pay for the whole thing yourself. I don't know. And
Mhm.
so like a lot of our students actually like their parents helped them with this and whatnot, but you had just like so much skin in the game, and it was something that was like relatively new to you, where like you went from this guy that thought banking was wealth management to saying like, all right, I'm gonna go all in on this.
Mhm.
Like just like how
Totally.
at the farm, like what gave you that conviction, I guess.
Totally. I definitely think it was my prior experience going through the college admissions process,
Mm,
and basically doing that using just like the internet. Like for my school, like nobody really is ambitious in shooting for top colleges, and
mm,
my parents weren't really helping me or anything. So I was basically just doing it just solo, and I got the result that I wanted, but I just like I always thought like I wish I had somebody like just telling me what to do, somebody streamlining the process, like somebody who's already been through it, just guiding me. And I
mm,
think that would have made it a million times easier.
mm,
And um, on top of I didn't want to go through another process blindly when I knew that other people who were, more well connected than me, um, just like having such an advantage over me. Uh,
mm,
another thing is like Another thing is honestly like the money back guarantee. So
mm,
even though I had a lot of skin in the game, I knew that worst case scenario, I just wouldn't get an offer and I would just get like the money back.
right,
I know I remember you and I like we worked at a deal where I put like a couple thousand down and then um the rest is gonna be paid using my internship money.
right.
So and like I thought that was like first and then like going off of that, I think my conversations with you, I could tell that you were a really good guy. Like you were being flexible and you were being super helpful,
Yeah.
like a strings attached type thing. And I definitely got like a good vibe from you. So I think honestly, just like my conversation with you, like it was like the cherry on top. And I was like, you know what? Like, and like I'll add one more thing. Like my career is like so important to me, not just because like it's my career, but because, like I definitely like don't come from like a socioeconomic class where of like investment bankers or things like that. And like because of that, I think that I wasn't just thinking about myself when it comes to my career. I was thinking about like helping my parents retire and helping out like my girlfriends one day, things like that. So I think that I was being a little bit uh it's like I just didn't want to mess this up, if that
Mm.
makes sense. I didn't want to mess this process up because it was like so important to me. So I think that's why I took like the leap of faith.
That's so good because I can totally relate to that because I mean not everyone knows my story, but similar to you, like I don't come from like a background that had a lot of money, and then so like when I was trying to get into banking, it was like a lot of similar motivations, right? Which is like um I think when you don't have money, you truly appreciate how not that money is the end all be all or whatever, or like if you're a billionaire, you're guaranteed to be happy. Like it's not like that, but it's just that like when you don't have it and you lack financial resources, it's a lot harder um, to just live a life where you're super. Like my parents used to argue all the time, not because
Mm-hmm.
they don't love each other, but because they're so stressed out financially all the time, and like
Mm-hmm.
that affected our family life in terms of like their relationship with me and my sister, and like they tried so hard to give us like everything they could give us, but because they were arguing all the time, like my sister and I, it was very hard for us to be close with them, right? Like we just like we naturally try to like kind of run away from that type of atmosphere at home or whatever. And I always, when I was trying to get into banking, I was like, honestly, like I mean, it's kind of taboo to say this. So, like my biggest thing was just like I want to make a lot of money. Why do I
Mm-hmm.
want to make a lot of money? No, not just for making money, but like I want to make a lot of money because I know eventually I'm gonna have my own family. I'm gonna have a wife. I'm gonna have kids, and I don't want to go through like the same thing that I have to go through, or I don't want to be fighting with my wife all the time. I don't want my kids to feel like they can't be close to me, and so like the reason I'm bringing all this up is like sometimes like when you're really clear on your why and your motivations and what you're doing this for, and a lot of times it's not even just about yourself, but it's bigger than that, then like that's when you can typically achieve great things because let's be honest, and I'm sure we'll dive into this a little bit, which is like the investment banking recruiting process, it's a grind. Right? It's freaking hard. And I know we'll talk about this, but like I mean, even for you when you were going through it's like how many times do we have like super close calls where like you
Yeah.
you felt like you were doing everything right, and you're doing everything you can, and like you would be like the runner up guy, right? And you'd be like, and like, oh, they only took three people, and I was the fourth person. Like, but like when that kind of stuff happens, I think a lot of people give up because they get discouraged and whatever. But like for people like you and for people like me, back when I was recruiting, I got rejected so many times. I was recruiting in like 2007, 2008. It was like one of the worst environments ever. And for full-time recruiting, which I had to go through, unfortunately, I got rejected by like over 20 firms before I got my first offer. But like
Mm.
for us, like giving up is not even like something that to
Right.
us is not even an
Exactly.
option. It doesn't even cross our mind because like our why is just so important to us, right? And so
Exactly.
I always tell people like I'm so glad you brought up like why your career is so important to you because I always tell people it's like before you even like start doing this stuff, like get clear on why this is important to you. Like get clear on why you want to do this because it's not gonna be easy. And if you don't have a really good reason for why this is important to you, like when things get hard, like you probably just gonna give up, So I think that's really, really awesome. But I mean you're absolutely right though. Like um recruiting is not just about who's the smartest. It's not about just like who's the hardest working. Because quite frankly, like everybody, most people that you're truly competing with for recruiting, everybody's hardworking, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people are going to good schools. Like it's not even just about that. Like that's almost in a lot of instances that's just table stakes, right? But
Mhm.
it's about like, do you know how the game is played, and like how else can you get an edge on other people? How else can you like, it's almost like making less mistakes than your competition does, right? Like minimizing these mistakes, and the margin for error is so small to our point. And I guess like this is probably a good segue, which is like, can we tell people what offer you ultimately ended up with? Let's start with that, and then like I want to dive into kind of like part of your journey as well too.
Yeah, so I'm working for Guggenheim's Boston office,
Yeah.
and they do TMT.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome. So, I know like you wanted to be in Boston, right?
yeah,
And so you were like primarily recruiting for Boston, but Boston also like not every bank has an office in Boston, right? Like it was probably what like a handful of banks, like 4 or 5 banks,
yeah,
right? At least like if we're talking about like top tier banks. And I think you pretty much like you interviewed with most if not all of
yeah.
it.
I did, yeah, and I got to 3 super days,
Yeah.
uh, and I only got my third one. Guggenheim was my last one, and I got it.
Yeah. And the other two were like also elite boutique banks, right?
Yeah,
I think what was like Lazard and
and PJT.
yeah, Lazard and PJT, right? And so even for like Lazard and PJT though, like when you got to the Super Day, I remember us talking about it afterwards, and I was asking like, oh, how do you feel like it went? And then like you felt like it went pretty well, right? Like for both of those,
Definitely,
in fact.
definitely. Hmm.
And then when the news came back that you actually didn't get it, like I mean, talk to us about that because I think like a lot of people will be able to relate to this. It's just like it's not like here in Wall Street Mastermind, we're not just saying like, oh, you join Wall Street Mastermind and it's all rainbows and sunshine. It's like there's still setbacks along the way, right? Like
Sure, for
there's still
sure.
a journey,
And
right?
yeah, and a lot of it might just be out of your control. And I'll talk about the Lazard case. So the Boston office is pretty small, and they only took 3 summer analysts. And I killed the super day. Like I thought I did so well. I had such great rapport with my interviewers, and I thought it was a lock. And I didn't get it. And I actually reached out to my interviewers after and asked them to for feedback, And both of the interviewers that accepted the call offer, they told me like we loved you, like we thought you were great, you did everything perfectly. All 3 spots went to people who had connections with upper level bankers at the office. So it was virtually, I wouldn't say it was impossible, but it might have been impossible for me to have even gotten the offer, just because of like nepotism or people networking earlier than me or something like that. So that's, I think, like law of averages is just a super important concept. If you prepare the way that Sam tells you to prepare, like you may not get every single super day offer, but if you get enough interviews, like one will eventually land. Because like if you keep doing the right thing over and over again, law of averages says that one of them's gonna go your way.
Yeah, and I think like this is where people don't realize it's like uh level of banks that we're talking about, by the way, like okay, uh Lazard, PJT, like even Guggenheim, these are like top 10 banks. We're talking like top ball tracking, top elite boutique banks. Like these banks typically their overall acceptance rate is like around 1% plus or minus, right? And so like when someone says like I made it to the super day and I didn't get the offer, sometimes it's like you're still in the 99th percentile, but there's just like they only take that many people. And
Right.
so it's not even like you weren't prepared or you're not a good candidate or whatever. It's like you did everything you could, and like some of these things are just out of your control. Like you said, like okay, everyone else is super connected with people at that firm, and they only took 3 people, right? And I think I remember you telling me like in most years they take 4, and this year they only took.
Yeah, they're actually like staying in touch with. They want me to like recruit full time for them because they're gonna open up a 4th spot. So
So there you go, right? But like that's regardless. So I mean, like I was super happy that obviously when you got the Guggenheim offer, third time's a charm, I guess.
mm,
Because like I knew you were very deserving of the offer, right? Especially with like how close you got to those first 2 tries, and so. But to your point, like the law of averages, like if you control the things that are within your control, um, eventually it's gonna work out for you, right? And also like I don't think like we weren't really worried about like your ability to get more interviews if you needed to. I think if
yeah,
anything, it was like there aren't as many firms in Boston, and so like if you wanted to be
Exactly.
in Boston, it was more limiting, but nonetheless, like we made it happen, right?
Yeah.
I guess like going into that though, so in terms of the preparation process itself, so obviously coming into Wall Street Mastermind, you hadn't done any preparation yet on your own up to that point, right? You were basically coming in with like blank slate, and you were just like starting from scratch. Is that right?
Mhm.
Okay. And then so like after you came in, like what were some of the things that you did inside the program that you felt like were the most helpful for you, or that like really helped you get to this point, which is like getting to multiple super days, crushing the super days, even
Mm.
when it didn't work out, eventually getting an offer? Like what had the biggest impact for you, I guess?
Yeah, I honestly can't even single one out. So I'd just say like all three different sectors. So like first getting relevant experience. So the search fund thing is just super helpful. It's super easy to get search funds. Um, the search funds offer like internship and it's like super laid back. So I just thought that was great, a great like buffer for my resume.
Uh,
Uh, relevant finance experience is like super. I honestly like don't know if like if you don't have relevant finance experience, like you even if you network well, they probably like might not take you super seriously.
right.
Uh, and then networking, like I didn't even know that networking was a thing before Wall Street Masterminds. And Sam tells you what to say, like how to reach out to people, like everything. And I wouldn't have known what to do if not for that. And then
Mm,
third, interview prep, probably like the most important thing. Like just stuff like if you told me like walk me through your resume, I probably would have just said some like total like dumb stuff and like just like and like oh yeah so like this here like I worked here like Sam had us craft like eloquent stories like about ourselves and like he really taught us how to like present ourselves in an appealing way and I just like wouldn't have known to do that so I'd say like all three of those things.
okay. Yeah, I mean, those are like all the things you need, right? It's like if you think about it, you have to be able to get interviews, and you have to be able to pass interviews.
Mm.
In terms of getting interviews, like you need to have a good resume. I mean, you already went to a good school, you already had good GPA, but you didn't have any relevant experience, obviously coming as pre-med, so we had to fix that. And then you're right, without any relevant experience, people are going to be less likely to want to network with you, or even if they network with you, they're going to be less likely to want to help you. So those things kind of go hand in hand. And then like once you learn what to say, okay, now you're getting referrals, which is probably how you got most of these interviews, right?
Yeah.
Then from there, you just have to be able to pass the interviews, right? It's like not trying to like oversimplify it, but like if you know how to get the interviews, and then you're like prepared for the interviews, whether it's like on the behavioral side in terms of like knowing what to say and knowing how to make your stuff eloquent, and most importantly, like you need to sound better than other people. That's really
Yeah.
what it comes down to, right?
Yes.
And then also on the technical side, I guess I'm assuming since you were pre-med, you were probably that was like your first time trying to learn accounting and finance,
Yeah.
or
Absolutely. Like I didn't know what a DCF was. I didn't know what an LBO was. I didn't know what a cash flow statement was. Nothing. I basically just learned I had never taken a business class before. Dartmouth's a liberal arts school, so they don't even offer that stuff. So I knew I was just starting from scratch and you explained things super well in those videos. So yeah.
um then this is what I always try to tell people too, which is like you don't need to come into the recruiting process or this program in general with any sort of finance knowledge, right?
Mhm.
Like you basically didn't have any finance knowledge,
Yeah.
right? And like people are like, oh, do I have to major in finance? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? Do I have to know how to build financial models? It's like, no. Like we have people in our program that are pre-med, bioengineering majors, chem majors, history majors, literature majors, like all sorts of like like English literature, like
Literally.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, right? And it's like, I mean, roughly how long do you think it took you to learn all the technical concepts?
To like learn it, like not counting like just like practicing it, like learning probably like I don't even know, like 20 hours or something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about like 20 hours, give or take, which is like not a lot, right? After that, just practice,
Yeah.
right? So if you think about that, like that is not that much work, actually. Like we
Oh,
have students that don't start preparing. Not that I recommend this, by the way, but we have students in the program that don't start prepping for their technicals at all until they know they have the interview. And then
yeah.
they're like, oh, my interview's in 4 days. Okay, let me start learning the technicals now. And they just like cram the 20 hours in like the 4 days, and then they're like, go in and then they get the offer,
Yeah.
right? So like people like to, I feel like people like to like overcomplicate, like, oh, like technical interviews, like, oh, I gotta like become this expert financial modeler or whatever. And they spend like hundreds of hours
Uh,
taking the financial modeling courses. Like, none of that stuff matters.
it,
Like,
it's it's literally just like a check the box thing. I feel like I've literally I had interviewers who were like, yeah, like no big deal. We're just trying to see like that you did the bare minimum. Like they just want to see that you're like committed to the process and like
yeah.
that you learned a few things. So
Yeah, I mean, like you need to know it, but it's like, to be honest, like, yeah, when you say check the box, I agree, but it's check the box in the sense that like anyone that's actually like worthy of being your real competition in this process, they're all going to check this box too.
exactly,
So like
100.
that is not the reason why you got hired over, like why you're one of the 3 or 4 people that got hired. It wasn't because everyone else didn't know how to answer the technicals. It's like at the super day, most people know how to answer the technicals.
Mhm.
But then like how do you make yourself stand out beyond that? Right.
100.
And a lot of that really actually comes back to how you tell your stories, like how you like present yourself as a person, and can you get them to like you as a human being more than they like the other person,
For
right?
sure.
Um, and that's like that's a lot trickier, right?
Very true.
I guess so. What like do you have like, because there's probably like a lot of students that are listening to this right now and they're like think like, oh wow, okay, like Erik went from basically being a total non-finance, background person, and starting from scratch halfway through sophomore year to, geez, what month was it when you got your offer? Was it like May?
April, I think.
April. Okay.
Yeah,
So like literally in a span of like 5 months,
yeah,
you went from like being totally new to this to get an offer, right? And so now people are probably thinking like, huh, I wonder if I could do this too. But like, so for people that are thinking about maybe going through the recruiting process now, do you have any advice? Maybe it's like a piece of advice that someone gave you along the way,
hmm
helped you tremendously, or like something that you maybe picked up on your own as you were figuring things out. Like, do you have anything like that that you can pass on to people that would just help them make their own lives easier as they go through this?
yeah, absolutely. I think that just going back to knowing how to tell your story, I actually like started prepping for the behaviorals a little bit so like I was like networking. When I got my first interview, that's when I really started like doing the behaviorals and like really practicing them and stuff. And I realized that like going on networking calls, knowing how to tell your own story is actually so much better than networking, not knowing how to tell your story. And like even if you follow your framework of like, okay, like ask them this question, I realized that even when I'm asking them those questions and I know how to tell my story, like I'll my follow-up question will be like, oh, that's super interesting. Like I actually did this and I'm passionate about this, and this is why I am like super interested in this firm. I like just sounds so much smoother
Mm,
knowing knowing my story and my like my why, like part of it is like your why, but like part of it is being able to articulate your why. So I think that like if I was doing it over again, I would simultaneously network and practice for my behaviorals, because I think they actually go like super hand in hand.
mm, okay. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And we always tell people, because to your point, people kind of think of networking and interview prep as like two like discrete things. So it's like, I'm just gonna focus on my resume and networking first. I'm not gonna worry about interview prep until I actually have an interview.
Right.
But the thing that most people don't realize is like if you really think about what networking is, it's just another form of interviewing. It's like you're getting
Exactly.
yourself in front of a banker, and the banker is like, they know why you're talking to them. They're making an assessment in their head about like, what do I think about this guy? Like, do I like him and is he qualified? And you kind of have to check both of those boxes of like, oh yeah, he's a qualified candidate, and yes, I like him as a person. Okay, fine, I'll help him out,
Right.
right? And so like that is what interviewing is. Like interviewing is just, if I really dumb it down, it's like making the person that's sitting across the table from you as a human being. That's what that's what interviewing is. It's like networking
Yes.
is really just another form of interviewing. And it's like the good thing about networking is like most of the time they're not going to start like grilling you on your technical knowledge or whatever.
Yeah.
So like you don't really need to know your technicals for the most part, but like you do need to know your behaviorals. You do need to know your story. You do need to be able to answer basic questions like, tell me about yourself, or walk me through your resume, or why are you interested in banking? Why are you interested in our bank? Like those are all behavioral questions,
Yes.
right? Like if your story for those or your answers for those are kind of whatever, the chances of them saying, "Oh yeah, I really want to refer this guy," is just going to be very, very low, right? But if you're like
Yeah.
really, really
Also,
compelling, then they're going like, "Yeah, oh yeah, I like this guy. I'm going to help him," right?
yeah. Also, like you talked about, like being able to stand out in an interview over your competitors, like it's the exact same thing for networking too. Like people get flooded with emails when they're bankers for networking calls, and they probably go on, like a few like every week or something during recruiting season. Like a
Yeah,
lot of these bankers do. So it's like they're not going to help everyone. They could probably only like vouch for one person, and like who knows whether they have personal connections in the mix too. So you really have to stand out when you're networking as well.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, just the entire process is super competitive. You're always being compared against everyone else who's also trying to get these same jobs. And so that's just something to keep in mind. Just like you got to constantly be aware of like, what are you doing? What are you saying to just like set yourself apart from other
Yeah.
people, right? And that's kind of a lot of the stuff that we work on in the program. So, with that said, guys, like if you're, still with us here and, you kind of heard, kind of Eric's whole journey now, like maybe you're in a similar situation where, you just decided to switch over to pursue investment banking from something else that you were doing before. Maybe you're completely green to this. Like you don't know anything about investment banking. Um, you don't know any technicals. You don't know how to network. You don't have relevant experience on your resume. Like literally just starting from scratch. If that's you, and you want to, just like Eric, be able to do this in like a very short amount of time, literally, basically turn everything around in 5 months. Which is like, by the way, if you're completely new to this, what you probably don't know is just like how early the recruiting process starts. Like time is of the essence, right? Like the sooner you can secure these offers, the better the offer is going to be. Like, I mean, Eric, there are people in your class. You got the offer in April. We're in August now. People that are still recruiting now, like there's no more elite boutique offers or bulge bracket offers really available.
Right.
Right? Like the longer it takes you to secure the offer, typically the worse the offer is going to be. Right.
Yeah.
So like if you guys are thinking about making the pivot into banking, but you're starting from scratch and you want to just be able to go as fast as possible, and you're the type of person who like as long as you have the right guidance and instruction, you're capable of doing the work, like you have a good work ethic, then I
Mhm.
want to encourage you to like reach out, book a call with us. In fact, what we're doing now is uh and I don't know, this might be what you did too, Eric. I don't know, but like what we're doing now is basically we're letting anyone who's interested in talking to us before you even talk to us, you can actually speak to like a successful upperclassman who's already gone through our program and has already finished recruiting, has already landed on a top offer. Basically, someone like Eric. I mean, not specifically Eric, but like someone like Eric, and you can just talk to them, just have a coffee chat and just like ask them whatever you want. Ask them for like recruiting advice. Ask them for how they got their offer. Ask them, about their experience in the program. Ask them whatever they want. And then like after you talk to them, if you still want to talk to us, they can help you get that set up, right? They can set you up for a call with us. If you after you talk to them, you're like, no, I'm good. I'm just gonna do this on my own. Great, go do it on your own. Like you don't have to work with us. We honestly, I was just telling Eric before we came on here how busy I am. Like we actually don't have bandwidth to work with every single person, because we're already so busy. But like talk to them first, and like if everything sounds great and this is the type of program that you want to be a part of, then we're happy to talk to you, learn more about your situation, see what it is that you need help with, and we'll map out like a game plan for how it is that we think we can help you achieve your goals. But like, if not, like if we don't think we're a good fit to help you, by the way, like we won't even invite you into our program. It's just like we just don't have bandwidth, and like we can't go around offering money back guarantees to everyone. By the way, so anyway, that if you guys are interested in doing that, you can go and book this free coffee chat with an upperclassman by going to www.wallstreetmastermind.com/apply. Again, the street is abbreviated to ST, so it's wallstmastermind.com/apply. And we look forward to talking to you and hopefully helping you. All right. So with that said, Eric, I want to thank you again for taking the time to talk to us today. This was super insightful, and I really enjoyed I actually learned some new things about your story that I didn't even know about before. But It's a super interesting story. I'm super proud of you for just making the decisions that you made and putting in the work that you did and just getting to where you are today from where you started. And um, again, like I said, since we come from kind of a somewhat similar background, like I'm just so excited for you because I know that I always tell people this, like starting my career in banking, I can honestly say like changed my life. Like
Mm.
it's not that I'm still a banker today. Like I only did it for 3 years, but like it changed my life, changed my career, changed my life, changed my social economic status, it changed everything. Right. And so I'm always like super excited when one of my clients or one of my students is also coming from like a similar background and they're about to go into banking and become super successful. And that's part of what's so fulfilling for me. So I'm super happy for you. Thank you for letting me be just like a small part of kind of your process and your journey. And just huge congrats again, man. Like,
Thank you, man, and thank you, Sam. You were not a small part; you were a massive part, and you really just make this program super, super unique. So appreciate you.
yeah, man, absolutely. All right, guys. We're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll be back with more of these for you guys in the near future. And until next time, all right.